I want attacking, purposeful football all the time. Now we're going to have backs against the wall and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight hard. You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
A marvellous kick. That's as good as you'll ever see. And Footscray back in front. From inside the centre square. Boydie kicked the goal. Boydie kicked the goal. From inside the centre. I can't believe that.
Hello?
Tom Boyd.
That's me, mate.
Yes.
That's me.
Good. Thank God I dialed the right number. This is your old friend, Danny McGinlay. How have you been?
Well, I've been good, mate. It's been a crazy little period. Footy finals are on. Are you okay day last week?
Yeah, now that's your busiest week of the year. That's your grand final week for those in the mental health sphere. How'd you go? How many gigs did you do? How many lives did you save?
6 or 7 last week. Gigs, not sure on lives. In fact, the Thursday in particular was a 7 o'clock breakfast into an address at the Assembly at Camberwell Grammar, into an event at CBRE in the city, into a virtual event at home to a tech sales business of sorts. So it was a hectic day. I was absolutely cooked by the end of it. And as a few people so rightfully asked me, are you okay? I'm like, not really. I'm a bit sick and I've worked too many hours. I've talked for too long today. But nonetheless, very good conversations and a nice weekend, mate. So how have you been?
Mate, up and about, went to the Whitten Oval with the boys, saw a great preliminary final with brilliant atmosphere, and it was great to see a fair few of the Danny Boyd podcast listeners there, and a fair few Patreons who got their obligatory high five, and man, it was epic. I mean, it was great to see a good game of footy, because I've been pretty disappointed with this, with the AFL Finals series.
Yeah, why? I feel like it's been very good.
Nah, you're off your head. Simple fact. All the teams I don't like keep winning.
Yes, okay. I understand that. Having said that, though, the actual quality of the games themselves has been quite good. Obviously, Adelaide going out in straight sets was a bit of a surprise, but the Gold Coast Freo game the week before was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was that's been a highlight, the Gold Coast one. I was hoping the Suns would get over the Lions on Saturday, but it was no good. I mean, if you'd said to me at the start of the year, what are who are the 4 teams you don't want in the Final Four? I probably just would have gone, Collingwood, Geelong, Hawthorn, Brisbane. I mean, Brisbane won it last year. It's just greedy to go back. Geelong, I mean, usually not anti-Geelong, but they've got a certain number 3 who I'm not a fan of at the moment. And Collingwood and Hawthorn, I mean, that's just Satan.
Just at the moment, you're not a fan of him?
Just at the haven't been for about 12 months.
I can't stand Geelong making it, honestly, because it just seems like they've got it all down there, and that annoys me.
Yeah.
That really annoys me. But look, I think like on the Gold Coast point, we all get a bit romantic when Gold Coast obviously make their first set of finals and win their first final, but got very heavily reminded on when was it, Friday night? Just how many good players Brisbane have.
Oh, Saturday night. Yeah.
Saturday night. They have so many good players. And like, when I mean good, I mean like top 50 in the comp good. So it was quite impressive to see them actually get a bit of their mojo back. And I wasn't that impressed with Collingwood, actually, to be honest. I thought they blitzed Adelaide, obviously, out of the gate. But if you look at the 2 games that Adelaide played, I don't actually think that they were anywhere near their best form. So I think Collingwood's probably, I would say, will be a favourite going in. But I think Brisbane will win, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping for a Brisbane-Geelong grand final, just because that prelim last year was so good. And ideally what I'd love is for maybe Geelong get up, but certain number 3 gets suspended for the game, so he misses it, or Brisbane get up, and actually I don't mind Dunkley, so they can go back to back as long as they.
How can you not love the way that Dunks plays his footy?
No.
18 tackles.
He wears the wrong clothes.
Yes, that's right. I was about to say you can hate it just because he's wearing the wrong colours, but he's just such a good guy, and he plays like of all of the midfielders in the competition, most of them don't do a lot of the defending. I'll tell you that much. They do a lot of the trying to get lots of handballs, but he just he has the ability to really put the pressure on and the brakes on.
Oh.
And to be honest, like what's his name? Real kicked that goal against him. That was the softest free kick I think I've ever seen. So. Anyway,
I got to say we're talking too much about other teams. This is Bulldogs podcast. The Grand Final, VFL Grand Final this Sunday, Princes Park, Icon Park, Carlton's home ground, whatever you want to call it. Playing the Sharks, very exciting. I can taste victory, and I hope. Sadly, I will be working it. Have you been paying attention? But I hope everyone goes down there, and please, when you go to the catering, get the fish and chips. Let's all just enjoy the taste of shark while you're eating, while you're watching us win. But there's a big... I'm seeing some parallels to 2016, Boydie. I don't know if you saw, but Artie Jones copped an eye injury during the prelim, had to be subbed off. They don't know if he's going to get back in, but I really hope... This is what I'm thinking. I'm feeling it's going to be like Lin Jong. He's going to go into the VFL Grand Final. He's going to strap up his other eye.
Yeah. It's like if we just bring the two stories of Lin Jong and Jordan Roughhead together, that's the answer, isn't it? That's the answer.
I mean, sure, he might not be able to see and he'll play a dud game, but it's a great story and it's worth it.
And even more specifically, maybe he doesn't strap up his eye. That might be a bit strange, but maybe an eye patch on the wrong eye.
Yeah. It's a bold move, but I reckon it would be great.
Go for it. I will say one thing that this the way that our VFL are playing, the fact that the likes of Adam Treloar and Anthony Scott and Oscar Baker's playing back there too.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
He played brilliantly.
A few of these guys, Artie, a lot of these guys who have played senior footy this year, like a lot of people who are, let's say, just supporters of footy and they love footy, they'll find this really hard to probably take. But there's a very real environment where, and I've been in this environment before, where the AFL side gets knocked out of finals and, the VFL continues. And that most players don't want to play in the finals because, in particular, if you played a lot of footy in the ones, you feel like you should have been playing ones and you're an AFL player and now you've got to continue to play into your break. And you really don't get anything back on the other side, right? So you continue working for another 3 or 4 weeks in this case, and then you come back 3 or 4 weeks earlier than you probably should. Yeah. But to see our players who, like watching Treloar out there, as the simplest example, as an All-Australian player from last year who's obviously had some injury issues this year, just playing unbelievable footy. It's actually, I think it's a great sign for where our club's at. I really do. Yeah, it shows
good culture. And, I mean, we've justified it by re-signing Treloar for another year, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I did see that. To be honest, I think that him playing through this final series and playing the way that he has got him another deal. Honestly.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, doing that unpaid overtime has really worked out for him.
Well, I think, there's no, the quality of how he's playing at the moment is one thing, just to show that, quote unquote, he's still got it. But I think on the flip side of the coin that he can get through these games and that, realistically he would have been playing AFL footy at this time if finals were back on. I think would have given them good confidence to re-sign him for another year. So I think he's done himself a great service, and we get Adam Treloar for another 12 months at the very least, which is awesome.
Hell yeah. So please go down to Princes Park, those of you who have normal day jobs and are able to go down on a Sunday. There was also the AFLW where we lost to the bottom place Giants. I don't really want to talk too much about it because it was depressing. Jess Fitzgerald was great. Dom Carruthers, friend of the show, was great. Georgia Starthus. Izzy Grant did all right. She plays her 50th this week against Brisbane on Sunday after. Oh, so you got a choice. You have to go to you can go to the AFLW, you can go to the VFL Grand Final. That's really annoying that they're on at the same time.
It is, yeah, it is. I feel like Grand Finals are Grand Finals though, right?
Yeah. If Southport get out to a 10-goal lead, then duck over to the Whitten Oval.
Yeah, that's an easy trip across town. No traffic or anything. It's a Sunday. What's the worst could happen?
Absolutely. It's we're about to play our chat to Kelvin Templeton, he is such a different person to what you expect a former footballer to be. a genuinely intelligent, really well-spoken gentleman is the best way to put it. I loved chatting to him. Also, he's talking about his new novel. There's some great Bulldogs art at the moment. I want to plug Emily Ullman, who's a folk singer. She's just released a new song about being a Bulldog supporter. She released it today as we speak. So check out Emily Ullman on Millie Lala on Instagram. If you like the song, I know a lot of you love my brother's song at the end of the pod. It's got a similar vibe. It's really good stuff. Recommend it there. So oh, by the way, Boydie, on-air meeting time, I think I got us a big fish for an interview in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping.
Talk to me.
We have got, because, Sam Power is not the list manager anymore.
He's the general manager of footy.
General manager of footy. So our list manager is a bloke called Michael Regan, and we got him.
Yeah, wow.
So
I have so many questions.
Well, yeah, and
how do player contracts work if you don't play?
There we go. First question. See, this is why I need you there. You're going to.
Sammy, we'll give you a couple of softball questions. What are you going to do about Jamara?
I think, man, the media manager's going to hear this and just pull the interview.
We'll ask decent questions. We're not going to.
As will you, the listeners, because if you're a Patreon, you get to ask questions. That's part of the deal. It's only $5 a month, $4 a month if you sign up for the year, and that helps us a fair bit. So yeah, we're going to be chatting to him in a couple of weeks, closer to trade week. Which should be brilliant. But for now, please.
I think some of the questions, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but like the gaps in the list, like what are we actually seeing as the gaps that we have at the moment that we're trying to fill a need for?
Yeah.
That stuff fascinates me because, in the supporter's mind, we just go, oh, we're not good enough, right? Like, and we, the best supporters say, like, we've got things to improve, and the worst supporters abuse the absolute producers out of certain players. In particular, they tend to pick on individuals.
They do.
But when you're a list manager, you're sitting there sort of with the spider web up on the whiteboard, with all the different
conspiracy theorists trying to link everything back to the Illuminati.
That's right. You're just trying to sort of make this magic potion work, and there's just so many variables. So I'm fascinated to get inside the mind of Sam on that front. Anyway, we'll ask him that when we talk to him.
Yeah, we'll do that. No, Michael. We don't have Sam. We've got Michael Regan, list manager.
Right, we've got Michael Regan. There we go.
You got the actual list manager, not just his boss. So it's going to be great. But let's get into the mind of Kelvin Templeton. You are going to love this chat. If you are a footy nerd, and you are because you're listening to this, he's genuinely my favourite former player now. Like, he is so fascinating, and this is just some great stories. You're going to love it. Thanks for listening. Go Dogs. Is it weird being in a media room like this at Whitten Oval? Just the changes of this place compared to when you were here.
Look, the changes are incredible. I mean, we in the days that I played, we were a struggling team and a struggling club. There weren't the finances really to do anything. And there was a struggle to get a pie warmer. That was a challenge. But now the facilities here are just amazing. Facilities for the players, and as you said, a room like this, incomprehensible that we would have anything like that nowadays.
How were you? So, what years were you at here at Whitten Oval?
Well, I started in '74 and went through to '82. 74 was my first year, and I was quite young. I was 17 in my first year, and then, of course, I left and went to Melbourne after that for 3 years.
Yes.
So I had 8 seasons with the Bulldogs.
Yeah. So you won a Brownlow here. So are you a Melbourne fan at all?
The Bulldogs are my main team to support. But I've got an interest, obviously, in Melbourne and also in the Swans, where I was CEO for 7 years.
That's right. So what was your day job when you were playing here at the Bulldogs?
I went to uni for an extended period of time. So
As in you kept dropping out, or
no? Well, I thought the life of being a uni student and playing football was a pretty good one. So I wanted to extend that as long as I could. So I took many more years than I should have to finish my degree.
What was your degree?
Well, it was a sports science degree. Yeah.
I got to say, I met you at the Collingwood game this year, the 100-year celebration, and we chatted for about half an hour, I think, over halftime about nothing that I expected to speak to Kelvin Templeton about. We spoke about theatre and art and my own comedy and whatnot. And I remember going straight to when the game restarted. I was standing near Bob Murphy and Adam Cooney and some others, and I said to Bob, I just met Kelvin Templeton. He's not what I expected. And Bob's quote for you was, "He has no right being that intelligent."
Well, that's a great rap from Bob, because he's a bright fellow.
He is,
and a very talented man.
Let's go to the start. You didn't grow up in Traralgon. A lot of people think that you did, but you grew up in a town called
a very small town called Tyres. Now it's grown quite a bit, and it even has its own football team, which is amazing. But when I grew up there, tiny town.
What population are we talking?
I think a population of 100, 150, including the outlying areas. And in fact, it was so small that even people 30 or 40 miles away didn't know of it. And anyone that thought they knew it got it mixed up with Lake Tyres, which was a lot further to the north. They'd say, yeah, I know that, it's Lake Tyres. And of course it wasn't. So basically it was a spot on the map. My parents actually for a while had a little service station there, and the only people that turned up at the service station, other than the people in the town, were people that had got lost. And I'd have to describe how they could get back on the highway. They'd try to take a cut-through route or something, and they'd got lost and ended up there, and I helped them get back onto the major highway.
And what was the Tyres Football Club like?
No football club.
Oh, okay. So that's why you went down to Traralgon.
They had a tennis team. No, we didn't have anything. I first started playing football as a little boy in the cow paddock across the road. So I'd have to move the cows up one end, and I'd play up the other. And I was out in that paddock so often, and of course most of the people in the town looking out their windows at night could see me, and I'd be there till nearly dark, night after night and all weekend.
Were you playing? Would you have siblings you were playing with? Or
no,
were you
just by myself.
The cows?
Just kicking the ball around by myself.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Several of the townsfolk worked in the bush up near Walhalla, carting logs or cutting trees and for logs to take to the paper mill. And two of the young guys who'd seen me, all these times out in the paddock, actually cut down some saplings, and they brought them down from the forest, and they put them up and made goalposts for me. They're a bit wobbly, but they weren't straight. But that was a nice thing for them to do. But at this stage, I'm 7 or 8 years old.
And how did you? I mean, was there watching football on television?
Yeah.
How did you learn your techniques? There was no Auskick back then.
No. I there was a football handbook that the VFL put out. I remember Ted Whitten was in it, so I had a look at that. But I just sort of, I think with people that reach an elite level in sport, there's just a certain amount of ability that they're just born with. It's just there. You can't really take credit for it to some degree. It's what you do with it, how you develop it, that you can take credit for. But it was there. I sort of knew what to do.
So when you started playing for Traralgon, how old were you?
Well, I started first of all playing in the under-14s for a little town nearby called Glengarry. So I played for 4 years in the under-14s with them. Then I got into the schoolboys football. I played in the Latrobe Valley schoolboys team when I was 15, and I played in the Victorian schoolboys team.
Were you at a boarding school because you were so far away, or
no? Look, I ended up not necessarily a school was that appropriate for my interest, the local technical school, because my parents didn't they were didn't have the financial capacity to to put me in anything other than a government school. So no, I was just going to that school and playing football. And then after the schoolboys, which I was 15 when I played in the Latrobe schoolboys, we had a great team. We won the Victorian Carnival that year. Jeff Geeshan was the captain. At that stage, he was probably the best 15-year-old footballer in the country at that stage, and a great leader too. But then the following year, as a 16-year-old, I played for Traralgon in the seniors. That was a year that I grew up very quickly.
Yeah. Now the thought of playing in that league. I mean, you were playing against Moe and Morwell, and these are even now these are scary areas of Victoria. And a young, tall, would have been a very handsome young man. You would have been just targeted so much.
Well, the problem was I was so painfully thin and underdeveloped physically, and I really had to arrest the people at Traralgon to even let me play in a trial game in the seniors, and because they thought it was too dangerous for me to play, and they were concerned about my welfare. That was understandable.
I know you end up okay, and I'm concerned about your welfare in this story.
Well, they finally let me play in the last half of the last practice match. Now I kicked a few goals, not a exorbitant amount, but I did kick a few goals.
Come on, for you, not when your record is 15, we'll get to that.
I think it was about 3 or so, but it was enough to give them enough confidence to let me start the following week. But really, I think initially it was quite provisional, me playing in the senior team because of the concern about my welfare. That was understandable. So I think part of the reason that perhaps I did so well was I knew if I kicked a lot of goals, they'd have to keep me in the team. So it turned out to be quite an incredible year where I did end up breaking the goal kicking record for the competition that year, but it was a very tough and challenging year because the first round, I think, were playing those teams, Maori, Warrigal and all those teams, Bensdale, Hayfield. I sort of snuck up on people because, I don't think they were expecting a skinny 16-year-old kid to do what I did. Second round, they were waning. And it was back in the days of one umpire.
Oh no!
And
what's the worst incident that happened to you?
Well, I think the worst incident was playing against Warrigal, and the overlay have there at Warrigal has got a dog track, around the outside.
Really?
And but anyway, at some stage in the first half, I'm upright, and then all of a sudden I'm not upright. I'm unconscious on the ground. And this is the
you have no memory of it.
No, and the ball was way up the other end of the field, and I was so concussed that I trailed the Warrigal players into the Warrigal change rooms at half time. Someone had to come and get me and take me into the Traralgon change room. So, in those days, of course, head knocks and concussion, the possible effects of that long term weren't known. So, if you got knocked out, and I did on a few occasions that year, you got a wet towel on the face and a whiff of something up your nostrils to bring you back. And
the smelling salts?
Smelling salts, and off you went.
What are they even made of? I've heard of them.
But it certainly makes your eyes water.
Okay.
But the end result was that, it turned out to be, sort of a great year. In terms of the number of goals that I kicked, over 100, but
wow.
As I said, it was personally very challenging and quite confronting.
And were you ever afraid to play?
I think I had a fair lot of trepidation about playing sometimes, there's no doubt about that, and nervousness about it. But my desire to do well was stronger than the trepidation. So it kept me going.
That's a great life lesson. What, did your parents play football?
No, they didn't really. Either of them didn't. My mother played a little bit of tennis, but no, there's no sort of sporting history in the family.
Okay, it just appeared into you, fully formed.
So it seems.
How did the Bulldogs come sniffing about?
Well, I was in their zone, the Bulldog zone. So, and after that year, after kicking 100 goals, there was keen interest then, and I wanted to come to Melbourne too and play in what was then the VFL. So it wasn't. I didn't take a lot of persuasion to.
Yeah.
To
so it wasn't drafted. It was just all right. We'll take
zoned,
this kid.
So you didn't have a choice who you played for. Was going to be Footscray or the Bulldogs.
And did everyone in Traralgon then support the Bulldogs because of?
Well, Traralgon has a history of there were a lot of players from Traralgon. Bernie Quinlan, was before me.
So does that make the town, hey, that's our team?
Look, I don't know. I think they would have taken the interest because so many players, the Cordies and Jeff Jennings. So a lot of Traralgon's a fantastic sporting town.
Yeah.
The Traralgon team in the Latrobe Valley League has won 32, 33 premierships. They're really successful. Netball team is fantastic. They've got great facilities in the town. I think it's one of the things that makes Traralgon quite special in the Latrobe Valley area. Is it's sport and it's love of sport.
So your first game for the Bulldogs is here at Whitten Oval?
No, that was at Victoria Park.
Oh, what a baptism of fire. And I believe I saw you on front bar. You were given a very Victoria Park welcome.
Yeah, it was a welcome to the big league, which was a clip around the ears.
That makes it sound quite gentle.
It was a bit more forceful than that. And but it turned out to be the best thing that happened, because I'm a 17-year-old kid. If you can, try and imagine this. I can't. I'm 6 months away from getting a driver's license. My parents drive up from the country to drive me to the first game. I've never been in an environment like Victoria Park. It's packed.
Had you even been to a VFL game?
I'd only been to 2 before I played in one. Yeah. So I didn't. It was all quite foreign. I mean, all the noise and the colour, and I'd line up in the goal square in front of the Collingwood cheer squad.
Kelvin!
So that was a bit of a ribald welcome, and so off we go. And I was just I wasn't concentrating. All this movement and colour, and then the whack. And my head cleared, and then my focus went, on the game, and so I ended up with 6 goals in that first game.
Yes,
which I was quite happy with as a 17-year-old. It's not too bad.
Did we beat Collingwood?
I think it ended up being a draw. It was very close.
Oh wow!
And Bob Rose was our coach then, of course, the Collingwood great. So that's one of the reasons why the ground was packed.
Yeah. And how did you go for the rest of the season? Like, you kicked 6 goals on debut. Did you find footy, for want of a better term, easy?
No, I think all young players, I think have I think the difficulty you have is consistency. That's what young players have, and there are reasons for that. For example, you can get overawed. My second game wasn't anywhere near as successful. And because I were playing Fitzroy at VFL Park, who do I line up on but Kevin Bulldog Murray? A legend. He's 36, I'm 17. He's won 9 best and fairest, a Brownlow medal. And I'm in my second game, and I haven't won anything. So I was a bit put off by the fact that I'm playing on this, this guy that I've only sort of admired on the television. But the thing that was even worse was that he wouldn't stop talking to me during that game.
Oh, really?
He kept calling me son. So I remember it really well. He opened up with, gee, you did well last week, son. You know, your parents must be really proud of you. And, you know, is the club looking after you? You know, you're getting enough to eat? You know,
I think this is genius because he's seen that you being mean to you, you know, punching you in the back of the head, that's the worst thing you could do. That's going to fire you up, you know, and make you focus. So he killed you with kindness.
Well, see, the thing was, I knew enough even at that age to know that, you know, I'm sure Kevin Murray's a lovely fellow, but there was gamesmanship going on here, right?
Yes.
So he's an old warrior, and he wasn't going to let an upstart kid beat him. So I knew that I should, you know, I knew that I should turn around and tell him, you know,
rack off
with some very stern words, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I mean, I'm a 17-year-old kid. And he's a legend.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to do it. So, and of course, every time the ball came down, you know, he pulled my jumper, stood on my toes, did all the million little tricks. Then he'd apologise for it. So, look, you know, don't read anything to that, son. You know, just so he had me tied up in verbal knots, and so I hardly touched the ball that game, but. As a young player, that's one of the things that can happen. You can be overawed.
Yeah.
I think another thing that happens when you're young is, you know, you have difficulty. You know, sometimes if you start a game badly, then in your head you start to think it's not going to work for you, and you can't overcome that. And some people that I know, when I first started, I had a lot of trouble with runaway nerves. You know, I'd get because it was so important for me to play well. You know, sometimes that would drain energy too. So what happens? So that happens sort of during, you know, my first and sort of second year to some degree. Then you learn how to overcome those things.
How do you do that? Because I still struggle.
I think you know, like for example, you know, if you start a game badly, then say at quarter time, you replay those things in your mind, but in the reverse way. You know, you having won.
Okay.
The ball.
So you visualize.
You visualize the opposite to it. So so all of a sudden you turn you know what's happened into something in your mind that that's a positive thing, and then you feel fine, and and away you go. You're not affected by what's happened that's negative.
So you just visualize positivity, and was that something that you came up with yourself, or?
I think I just sort of worked it out, because I think the thing I discovered anyway, with the things that I've mentioned about being overawed, about being overly nervous, about being put off if you start badly, all of a sudden you start to realise that the real opponent is yourself, not the person that you're playing on.
Oh, wow.
And if you can control those things yourself, then that's the biggest step forward you can take.
Because I got told you were the first footballer at VFL, AFL level to use a sports psychologist.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I was the first, but Harry Stanton, his name was. He passed away recently. He was from Tasmania. Wow. He was just fantastic. I worked with him for a couple of years. And
how early in your career?
This was actually, I worked with him during my Brownlow year, all the way through, right from the start. And
so it's about 6 years in.
Beg pardon?
6 years in to your career.
Yeah. I'd read, because my first, while I was at uni, I was studying sports science. So the great advantage of that was that in that course that I did, there were a lot of athletes from other sports, including quite a few Olympic athletes. So I had a chance to talk to them and find out what they did, and how they trained and prepared. I trained with different squads, Raylan Ball's sprint squad with the Australian Olympic wrestling team. I trained a couple of summers. Got beat up like hell, but that was I learned a lot through that. And also the psychological aspects of sport as well. So I was I got an advantage of that because I was really curious about all of those things. And but with Harry, I worked with him the year that I won the Brownlow, and it was a very difficult year because we lost the first 10 games in a row. We only won 5 games for the year. Now, playing on the forward line, there's no advantage in that. In fact, if you look at the points for and points against that year, it suggests that the ball was up the other end of the field 60% of the time and only up around forward 40% of the time. So you had to make the best advantage out of the 40% of the time it was in the forward line. So, I mean, one of the things that I work with Harry on is how do you deal with that situation where, often at half-time the game was essentially over.
Yeah.
How do you create a way of thinking that even if that situation's like that, you're not disheartened by that. You're actually set yourself in such a way that you're still wanting to perform at your very, very highest. And so that was one of the major things that he helped me through that year, and that was very effective.
What were the lessons?
Well, I think, one of the lessons is so simple, and that is, let's take that example that I gave you where the game's over essentially at half-time. Yep. That was the case a lot of times. Right. So from then on, from my point of view, I didn't think about the score, ever look at the score, and my total focus was on the next event that I was going to be involved in. So it was a total being present thing. The state of the match was irrelevant to the way that I was thinking at that point. It was just the very next contest and how I could maximise what I could do in that very next contest. So same with time. I wasn't aware at the time of the quarter or anything like that. I put all of those things aside and just brought it back to just one contest.
So you're doing visualization from a very early part of your career, and now you're doing compartmentalization. I mean, these are things that all AFL players are taught to do these days. Is there anything else that you did that no one's jumped onto yet that we could get ahead of the game on?
Look, I think the only other thing that I think was the university, Vic Uni that I went to.
The one at Footscray?
Yeah, Footscray.
Oh, nice.
It was Footscray Uni at the time. They had a great biomechanics lab. So I used to use the biomechanics lab for analysis for kicking, which I don't think anyone else was doing at the time. But and so that helped with my kicking action. I used to have that analysed.
How did they do that back then? Like now it's all computers and there's data on a screen like the Matrix, but back in the mid-70s, was it just someone drawing on a chalkboard? Or?
No, they still had rapid cameras.
Okay.
So,
but you had to wait for the Polaroid to come out.
Yeah, well, that's right. So I could see from that, just watching that, just looking at it frame by frame, I could see what I was doing wrong, when I looked at it. So that was an advantage too. As you said, all these things now are sort of a normal part of what players do, but it wasn't back then.
Wow, I'm starting to think you're a time traveller, and you went back in 2010, back to the start of the 70s, because you would have been so much taller than the average person back then.
Yeah.
Now you and Tom Boyd are pretty close in height.
Yeah.
So you could play now. I mean, if you were 20, you would fit into the game very well.
Yeah, I'd have to learn a few skills that I didn't have, like handballing, I think. But I think because it's such an athletic game, that was a strength. I mean, my athletic skills were really good until injuries caught up with me. So, I was for a tall guy, I was fast. Had good endurance and strength. So, I think I'd be fine today. But as I said, I'd have to widen my skill set.
Something that doesn't happen these days, but allegedly happened to you, is when you won the Brownlow, 1980. Do you remember the night well?
I do remember the night well, yeah.
All right. Something odd happened. Was it at the Southern Cross Hotel?
Yes, it was, yes.
Which is now was it Exhibition Street, was it, or Russell Street?
Not sure.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
So you walk in, you were invited. Were many players invited from the team?
I'm not sure. I can't remember any other player from the team. I'm sure Gary Dempsey would have been there.
Of course, because he'd won.
Doug Hawkins probably,
Okay.
but I can't quite remember that. But I did when I went in. I was one of the favourites. I won one or two of the media awards before that, so I was one of the favourites. But who knows what can happen with the Brownlow count? And
somehow Lachie Neale won it. It was.
Yeah.
That night, it was 1980, but Patrick Cripps and Lachie Neale both won it.
Yeah.
Bont got no votes, typical. Anyway, play.
Yeah. So, when I walked in, someone who worked for the VFL in a senior role, I've never mentioned who it was, but he said, come over here. And he said, look, you're going to win. It won't appear like that, for much of the count, but you're going to win. So just get ready for, what you have, what you have to do at the end. And
did you believe them at the time?
Yeah. But because of who it was, I knew it was. I knew that was
so
true.
The equivalent of a Gillan McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I think it was a kindness because in those days they used to mix all the votes up and organise it for the big finish, the big finale.
Really?
So I'm for a long way through the count I wasn't polling that well, and I had a few I'd have people come up and say, look, pat me on the shoulder, sorry, I thought you would have done better, and I have to say, yeah, oh well, and knowing that I'm going to come out of the clouds at the end, which I did. The last out of the last half a dozen votes counted, I think I got three votes. So all of a sudden, straight to the top.
So were you getting votes for games late in the season that you don't think you played that well at?
No, it wasn't that.
No,
no, it wasn't that. It was the fact that in those days they mixed up the rounds. So you would.
So they're just saying, oh, by the way, here, and so we begin round 22. K Templeton 0 votes, and at the end, round 3, K Templeton 3 votes.
Yeah. So I really came from the clouds, and I think that's why the person told me because obviously he knew how it was all going to pan out. And he thought, it's fair that I tell this guy because otherwise he's going to be sitting there thinking he's, not in the race, and within a few minutes, he's going to be leading the thing, and that's going to be a shock for him. So I'll tell him beforehand.
Who won the Brownlow in 1979?
I think it was Peter Moore.
Okay, was Peter Moore not told and then came from the clouds but just decided to get on the beers?
I don't know. I haven't heard that anyone else has had the experience that I had. But I think,
I'm just wondering if they were worried there'd be a Dane Swan style scenario when in the early days of broadcasting, and
yes.
They were worried that this university student was probably going to get on the jazz cigarettes or something.
That's right, exactly. Well, that's right. Well, there's plenty of cigarette smoke in those days.
Oh, yeah. Legit, because I've seen the footage and everyone's just chain smoking.
Well, that's right. Even quite a few of the players.
Yeah. You win that, and did you have to do media the next day, or was it?
No, I remember because I had very little sleep and was very hungover, and the radio interview started at about 7:30 the following morning.
Oh.
So they
on the phone, or do you have to go in?
No, on the phone.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think that would have been too revealing, those interviews. But no, there was quite a lot on for the following week. It was really busy. Not like it is these days, but it was every day I was doing media activities for the remainder of the week leading up to the grand final.
Where do you keep your Brownlow?
I've got it at home.
Cause some people have it framed on a wall, others just have it in a drawer.
I've got it in a box at home, I haven't thought of putting it on the wall or anything like that. Yeah, but But as long as I know where it is.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose. I'm not going to win another one. So.
Oh, hey, I believe in you. I believe in you. So your other famous achievement here at Whitten Oval is the day you kicked 15 against St Kilda. Now, you told me about this when we met, and what a day it was.
Yeah, it was remarkable. It was just one of those things that happened. I mean, I was only 21. I mean, I'm very young, and we were struggling as we usually were in those days. So to actually break the all-time record score was a pretty big thing and a real highlight. In a year that didn't really have much in terms of highlights.
Yeah. And so, but what's your recollection of the day? You started at full forward. Did the Saints player whack you and it gave you laser focus?
No. I think a main recollection I've really got is of the third quarter, because
how many did you got at halftime?
I can't really remember, but I kicked 9 points as well as the 15 goals, and most of those 9 points were in the third quarter. And the reason that I kicked the 9 points was that I started cramping in the third quarter, and my left hamstring. So when I was running to kick, and I planted my left foot before I kicked, bang. I'd get cramp in I'd kick it over here, through the points, over there, through the points,
just
or out of bounds. And I never suffered cramp before that quarter or after that.
Oh, really?
So
bit of divine intervention.
I don't know what happened. And
we were playing the Saints. That is God's.
That's right. So 3/4 time, Don McKenzie, the coach, said, "Look, we might have to take you off."
And this is back in the day where once you're off, you're off.
You're off.
Yeah,
and, he said,
which will blow the mind of any younger listeners. There was no rotations.
No, there wasn't. So he said, "Look, we'll give you 5 minutes in the final quarter, but if you keep cramping, we're going to have to take you off." Now that seemed to be fair enough, so off I went. And fortunately, the cramp in the last quarter, I didn't suffer from it at all. It just disappeared.
Hey.
And we were just so dominant in that last quarter. I mean, any defensive team would have found it impossible to deal with it. I mean, Gary Dempsey was winning every hit out.
Yep.
The players were streaming down the field with the ball time after time after time, and the forward line was open. I mean, it was you couldn't hope for anything more. So,
and did you know how many you were on?
I was on 7, so I kicked 8 straight in the last quarter without a point. So,
at what point did you think, I could be on for the record here? Because Fred Fanning's did the record in 38? 18. Yeah, 18. That's 18. Well, he's 18 goals, but I think it was in 1938. I'm not.
Oh, look, it would be way back.
Check. Yeah.
Way back then.
We don't know how many points he got.
I didn't. Well, I didn't have any knowledge of that. I wasn't in the habit of looking up, what was the highest goal score, so I could beat it. I think if you realise it's 18 goals, you just say no, that's impossible. So, no, I didn't, and I didn't know that we were, getting close to breaking the all-time record score. But after when I was, the crowd ran onto the ground after I was awarded my last mark. And so there were minutes that went by where the police were trying to get people to exit the ground.
Damn kids off.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, the coach, Don McKenzie, standing next to me with his...
The coach just came on the field.
The coach came on the field, and he's got his clipboard, and he'd done his addition, and he said, "Look, if you kick this goal, we break the all-time score." So just to add a little bit of extra pressure, on the... and all the kids, we realised that the ground couldn't be cleared. There were so I ran in, sort of dodging in between different people who were on the field, and but it was 30, 35 minutes out dead in front. And at that stage, I was kicking so well it wasn't I couldn't miss at that stage. It was a pretty easy kick. So I thought, rather than wait, for another 5 minutes for the ground to clear. If they could clear it, I'd just go ahead and do it. Yeah.
And it went through?
Yeah.
15 goals, 8.
9.
15 goals, 9. Do you ever think, if you'd only got, 3 of those, 4 of those, half the points?
Yeah, well, I think, that's right. But I'm happy enough with that. And it had a lot to do, as I said, with the way the ball was coming down the field and the players up the field. The Jeff Jennings and Ted Whitten and Doug Hawkins, and when I look back and watch the replay, Gary Dempsey in the ruck was unbelievable. He just was thumping the ball out of the. So then you start to think of it as a collective effort, which it was, and that ball was just coming down. The skilled defenders didn't have a chance. No defensive team would have been able to deal with that. It really was a team and a collective effort. So we're all pretty happy with that. We celebrated like crazy after that.
Yeah, because you got to take the wins, take whatever highlights you could get.
Yeah, no, we were given a mayoral reception. The team after that, we got given the keys of the city for Footscray. So that was something. Had to dress in the mayoral robes and all that sort of thing.
Oh right,
So that was So that was a lot of fun.
Well, all of you,
I got.
You were the mayor of Footscray for how long?
Well, a fairly short period of time, and but we had a reception, and of course there were lots of drinks and so forth. So it was we were all quite happy with that sort of setting, and so it was a lot of fun.
And so you retired after a brief stint with some other club. We don't care about that or whatever.
Yep.
And you then became CEO of the Swans and, other club and everything. What was your post-football, like how does someone studying sports science get to be a CEO?
Well, I moved to Sydney after I finished playing. I had 10 years working for what is now Bupa, and I was general manager of their medical clinics division, which we had clinics across 3 states. I did an MBA during that period of time. So, I had business experience plus educationally I was prepared, and that was a challenging role because the AFL had just bought the licence back from the last private ownership group,
of course,
the Swans, and the Swans had finished on the bottom of the ladder 3 out of the last 4 years, and we're in quite a perilous state. So it was that was a challenging, particularly first few years. But the Swans since that period in terms of finals finishing, I think have been the most successful team in the competition.
All because of Templeton.
No.
Doesn't even humour it for a second.
No, it was that was a collective effort. And
that was you brought in Ron Barassi.
Yeah, he was. Ron was there, and he was great in terms of shoring things together. While, but there was great leadership. The chairman Richard Collis was fantastic, and I think the recruiting of Tony Lockett, which was by my predecessor, not me.
You're doing corporate wrong. You're supposed to claim credit for everything, Kelvin.
No, that was it turned out to be a masterstroke because Tony, for quite a while there was the biggest sports name in Sydney, bigger than any rugby league player or rugby player, and all of a sudden, the team started winning, and whereas crowds were down to under 10,000 for a while there, we had this fantastic day a couple of years into the time that I was there, where there was a lockout at the SCG. There were too many people trying to get in. Gary Ablett was playing for Geelong. Swans were playing against Geelong, and of course Tony Lockett. The 2 huge draw cards, and the gates were closed after, and there were about 10,000 people that were put into the stadium next door to watch on the big screen.
Oh, wow.
So
at Sydney Football Stadium.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
see, if I had a time machine, I'd go back and watch that game live. I'd get there early. So you go back and use modern day football techniques to dominate the 70s.
yeah, it was it was great to the Swans really became Sydney's team there for a while, and we had nearly two whole seasons of not losing a game at the SCG, which sort of helped a lot.
I'd say it's back. But anyway, this is too much Sydney Swans chat. You've written a book.
Yeah.
Your passion now is you've retired from the corporate world. Your passion's theatre. You're an MTC member. You go and see everything. What is your favourite play? Or top three if you want.
Well, I saw the best play. I think one of the best plays I've seen this year was actually in London. My youngest daughter lives in London, and I go over a couple of times a year. And I saw a remake of Oedipus, the
Greek, where he's in love with his mother. That's really all right. I know. I went to a state school,
and that was fantastic. That story is so powerful even today. But it was adapted for the modern time. So Oedipus was a modern politician, and he was running for office like prime ministership of whatever country it was, and that was brilliant, and that was probably my theatre highlight. But I would go to probably 10 or a dozen plays a year. For me, that's theatre and reading are the two things that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, and so you've written a novel. I mean, you haven't just written an autobiography. You and Tom Boyd who's not part of this interview, obviously, but we were chatting outside just before Boydie left, and Boydie's quite proud that he didn't use a ghostwriter in his autobiography.
Apparently, it's very. I haven't read it. I must do that, but I've heard it's very, very good.
I can lend you a copy. But you being the only two footballers to actually write your own books, but I reckon you would have dreamt of writing a novel for a long time.
Well, it's probably a fairly recent thing, and I've been working on this for a long time. But it comes out of reading. It comes out of a love of reading, because I went to a government primary state school, and I can't remember the name of the book, but I took a book out of primary school, and I remember being completely transported by this book. I can't remember the name of it, but I can remember the feeling. It was a seismic event in my young life. And from then on, I was just hooked on fiction. And I've read so much over the years. And I think if you do that for long enough, at some stage you think, I think I might be able to do this. And then, of course, you start it, and then you realise how difficult it is.
The Dunning-Kruger effect. But I've read a couple of chapters that you've sent to me. I think I want to know what happens next. What is the book about?
Well, it's I suppose it's a story of loss and redemption, and it starts with the era that it's in is the mid-70s to the mid-80s, and the character is a footballer, strangely enough, and he's a 20-year-old footballer, and he's got the world at his feet.
From Traralgon, and he got punched in the head. And is it biographical at all? Or?
No, well, it's not. And I hope I didn't go through the things that I put this character through. So, no, it's not. I'll talk a little bit more about that, because it's an interesting question. Anyway, so we see the character. The book starts. The book starts with a car crash, but that's the prologue. But when we get into the chapter 1, we see the main character, Joshua Shamrock, and it's after a game. He's 20 years old, which is very young, and he's played the game of his life. He's basically won this game single-handedly.
Playing for, is the team unnamed, or is it Footscray?
It's Footscray. It's the Bulldogs, yeah. And so the week that follows is sort of like a victory lap for him. All sorts of things. Is he mayor
of Footscray or anything?
All sorts of things happening. He visits his old hometown, so he's a character whose total identity is based around his football. All he's ever wanted to do is to be a football star. here it is. It's in his hands. He's so close to it happening. The following week, something terrible happens, and then he's all of a sudden in a life that he's ill prepared for. It's a career-ending injury that happens, and all of a sudden he's shunted into this life that he can't fathom. And so really the book is how he deals or doesn't deal with that. That's what the book's about, really. So it's the main theme is a search for identity, and it follows him for the next 10 years, and the effect of this on him and on his relationships, or a relationship with his wife Justine, and what happens between the two of them. That's the surface story. Underneath, there's a mystery, and it starts with a car crash because there's all sorts of mystery associated with that, and also a mystery is the identity of the main character's father. So this is happening in the background, and so there gets a point in the story where all of this comes to light. So the main character has a lot of challenges to deal with, but through that he finds a craft and a mentor which help him rebuild his life. So that's the arc of the story.
Okay, and you brought a bit to read for us, a little extract, which you told me is about playing football on a paddock, but it's not autobiographical.
No. Well, about the autobiographical stuff, none of the facts in the book are true. None of the facts relate to me or anyone else that I know. But I do draw on emotions, of course. So, if there's most of the book is set away from the football field, 90% of it is. But at the start, there's some footy in it, and you see the game through the eyes of the main character when it's going really well, and there's also a flashback to games where it didn't go so well. Now, I can draw on how I felt in similar circumstances to that. So those emotions, I can draw on, but in terms of the facts, all the facts are made up.
My father's got a phrase, he works in the book trade, of all stories are true and some of them actually happened.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think this is a story that could have happened.
Yeah.
But didn't, but it could have happened.
All right.
Okay. Now, I think this is, I've chosen this bit because those people that are listening, many of them would have, as a small boy or a small girl, had a football and been kicking around when they were young, sort of 6 or 7 or 8, and imagined all sorts of fantasy things in their head while they were doing it. So here we have the main character has gone home after he's played his great game. He's brought up by foster parents in this fictional town called Forestville. And his foster mother, who's mentioned, is Rose. And he's gone into his bedroom and he's looking around on the wall, trophies and other things that from his young days. And the bedroom feels about 10 times too small for him now. He's a big footballer. And this is what happens. On the long wall of his bedroom were shelves he'd built for his old football trophies. His favourite, the earliest, was still gleaming, a footballer in gold taking a mark on top of a black lacquered column. The gold engraved plate read B&F Forestville Under-12s, 1965. Winning it gave him, for the first time, the wondrous sense of having abilities and potential that set him apart. It made him feel he'd been raised above all the other boys his age. But his dreams of being a football star began well before he played for any team. His imagination first flared when he played football by himself in a paddock behind the house as a young boy. He did this most nights after school and always on weekends in the afternoons after his chores. Alone in that paddock with only a football for company, his dreams first came alive. He would have polished the football in his boots beforehand and put on a football jumper, shorts and socks, and climbed into the paddock by stretching the wire fence, like a boxer lifting the ropes before entering the ring. Then time seemed to stand still as he created his own world, where he played in great stadiums in front of enormous crowds. In those hours, he did not think about anything that had happened in the weeks before or what lay ahead at school. He lived somewhere in a time cleaved free from the past and the future. He was only reminded of the passage of time as the light dimmed. Evening was coming, and he would hurry to kick the football around as much as possible before darkness struck, and Rose would lean out the kitchen window and yell through the blackness for him to come home for tea.
I can absolutely relate to that. I think everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway, and even I have an 11-year-old, and that's what he does in our front yard.
No.
He's got a whole league of.
All kids do that.
All kids do that. When does Collision come out?
It comes out in November sometime. Haven't got a specific date, probably early November.
Will there be a pre-ordering or is there...
In fact, you can order it now on Booktopia.
Booktopia, all right. Collision, Kelvin Templeton.
That's it.
Thank you so much for coming on. This has been a brilliant chat.
Pleasure, Danny.
I'm going to get you on with Boydie so you guys can talk more footy stuff. And I am also pretty excited to finish this so we can nerdily talk about theatre. And
Great.
Often the anyway, Kelvin, thank you so much.
Good on you, Danny. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, mate.
I gave my childhood to that role of the red, white and blue sea, and the knowledge that you had two loves, the Bulldog boys and me. 20 years on, I feel that longing hanging in September air. But the reason I go every week is to pretend you're still there, and they will find the glory one day, and I will throw it at your feet. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets.